Hello and welcome to another album review. Today we'll be going over Monolord Vaenir. This album has been on the top list of a lot of people over the last couple of months, and rightly so. Monolord themselves are out of Sweden, Gothenburg to be exact, place of endless metal legions, mostly in the death metal and some of a more interesting doom metal vein. And these guys kind of take little pieces of each individual kind of sound that's come out of that area. But mostly it's doom metal, a very sludgy brand of doom metal. The thing that instantly caught me and kind of held me were these riffs that kind of like build upon one another, you know? They start off very small and compact and then just sort of evolve into these monstrously epic orchestrated pummeling, churning riffs that instantly grab you and take hold, you know, and don't let up. The second thing that, you know, really grabbed me was the vocals. Kind of like a different take on the vocal part in general. It's very kind of brought back into the mix. Not only is it brought back in the mix, but it's kind of just audible enough that you could make out what they're saying, but it adds like these almost cosmic textures, like or ethereal textures, kind of like you're listening to something through a void, you know, and it definitely works out that way, that, you know, you get these huge sonically punishing riffs and then somebody's kind of like forcing their voice out through that void. And it only seemed to add to my overall like for this album was the fact that all instruments were very audible and clean, except the vocals. It was a different take on something that I hadn't really heard before, and that's not to distract from, you know, the vocals weren't good. I think the vocals were done in a different way that kind of added to the overall experience of the album. The thing that I found that was quite amazing was the bass part wasn't so much high in the mix that it almost sounded like a guitar. Sometimes within the genre, it seems as though either A, the guitar, or I should say bass, is so overdriven that it basically sounds like Lemmy Kilmister just pummeling through some guitar chords on a bass, or B, it is so tinny and trebly sounding that, you know, and it has to be that way to cut kind of through the overall sound, that it kind of loses its texture as a bass. This bass player totally uses his tone as an actual bass with some light distortion on it, but to actually add that low in and bring in those crushingly heavy riffs to a overall mammoth proportion, and he actually brings really interesting bass lines that probably haven't been heard since, you know, Geezer Butler brought up the bass 40 years ago. The other thing I could say too is the drummer actually adds some progressive elements to this album that has, you know, kind of been lacking within the genre for a while. I mean, there's some standout drummers out there, but this guy really takes his time to kind of add in a lot of different stuff that you might hear on maybe some 60s and 70s progressive rock albums, you know, maybe something you might have heard on Rush or even Yes. But he adds it in with taste. It's not like something where it's totally out of place. Usually it's in an instrumental part within the album that definitely needs something to kind of speed it up or add a little bit of interesting texture that might not be so prevalent in that certain spot. I think the other thing that's really interesting about this album is the slower and more melodic parts. They definitely go the extra mile to write something that's really intriguing and kind of, even though the song structures are very, very long, they never feel as though they're overbearing or overstaying their welcome. Every part kind of, you know, even if it takes a small interlude and the song's longer, it definitely keeps your interest and piques a sense of curiosity throughout the album. Melody wise, this album is pretty much at the top of any doom metal game out there, and it really adds to the epic quality and sort of overall mystique of the album. Even when you look at the album cover, it really piques your curiosity to find out what might be hiding under those murky waters of sludge and slowly invading your eardrums. Overall, this album really doesn't have a whole lot of harsh vocals. It really takes a hard stance to having clean vocals, but adding in more sonic textures as far as adding lots of reverbs and lots of echo and delay on top of that vocal delivery, and keeping it a little more in the background and using it almost as an instrument itself, which overall strengthens every song and just adds to the overall impression that this album belongs on the top list, not only for this month or the next month, but this overall year as far as doom metal releases. And it comes as no surprise that this band would be coming out with tons and tons of amazing stuff in the future to come. So, as always, we hope you enjoy our album review, and please leave a comment in the comment box below. We hope to hear from you all soon, and please feel free to like, share, and subscribe to our videos. Bye-bye.